Blessings. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and I am so deeply guided off the cuff today to make this video that describes how I have learned how to generate cash flow as an artist. So I'm calling this Generate Cash Flow Abundance for Artists, because there's so many of us out there, creatives, that really live hand to mouth, check to check, $20, $100 to $100, and that we don't have 9-to-5 jobs. We don't have a regular income through which we know a certain amount is coming in every month, yet we still have overheads. A lot of us have cars. We have the blessings of an abundance of a home. We have maybe a bottle of wine even on the countertop. We have some food in the cupboard, yet how we're going to fill the next tank of gas, how we're going to generate enough money to maybe invest in a course or a workshop, or to pay for new shoes for our kids if you have children, or all these kinds of things are somehow, kind of left into prayer, into meditation, and really just like, I'm going to trust, I'm going to trust, I'm going to trust. And some things that I have just naturally been guided to do in my process of generating more conscious wealth in my life has a lot to do with 5 simple steps. And there's 1 or 2 bonus steps at the end that I'm going to share with you. I'm reading off of a board. On a whim today, I realized I needed to generate more cash flow in my life this week. And I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? There's some money that I need to be coming in. And the first thing, it just popped into my head. It's share the abundance consciousness that I have realized for myself with others. And so it makes perfect sense to make this little video, share the love, share the abundance consciousness, and may it serve you. The things that you'll definitely need are sacred space, which is maybe an altar or a sacred place. I know even some people are backpacking. They are hitchhiking. They're gypsy travelers on the road and still wanting to affect their abundance consciousness, their awareness of abundance. So some kind of a sacred space. I know one friend has a God box. It's a beautiful little wooden box that she calls her God box. Bottom line is, it can be an envelope. It can be an envelope in your God box. It can be an envelope in a sacred journal or a sacred space. But somewhere, an altar, a sacred space, a God box, an envelope is definitely what you need at the bottom line. And the second thing is a notebook. You want to have a notebook that is just for you to log money that comes in and money that goes out. It's for nothing else. It can be a tiny little notebook, but that's all you use it for. And what you're going to do with your notebook is you're going to keep every receipt, and you're going to make a note of all outgoing and incoming where monies have come in and out every single day. Okay, so July 23rd. What monies have come in, what monies have come out. And if there's nothing, there's nothing. You just skip that day and you go to the next day. But we want to create a mindfulness. We're generating a mindfulness of the flow of cash so that we can become aware of the circulation of cash and bless it along the way. But really generating that awareness. And sometimes we're sitting there going, I don't know where that $20 went. Where did I spend that? I used to throw away every receipt. Now I keep every receipt until I log it. And those receipts that I know I can use to write stuff off next year, it's great. I just put those in a pile in an envelope, and that goes in a certain bin. But being mindful of what's coming in and out. And this practice helps us to generate a sense of being organized and taking responsibility. Being mindful, taking responsibility of those monies coming in and out. Know how much is coming in and how much is going out. So in your notebook, you're going to make just every day, whatever the date is, 7/23/17, incoming, dollar amount, $20 from my grandma. I know my grandma, she likes to give me a little cash every month. She's such a sweetheart. She's like, put some gas in your car, and she gives me a little cash, and she's a sweetheart. I log that in there. Incoming, that's cash flow, that's coming in. Outgoing. On a Sunday, when I go to Center for Spiritual Living and I go to the Sunday service, I generally will tithe. I'll give $5. That's what I'm guided to give. And so I give that. I don't get a receipt for that, but I make a note mentally, or I write it down. And so when I log in my book, I make sure I write down $5 outgoing tithe. Other things, receipts we get for gas, for groceries, all that. $20 Trader Joe's, $5 whatever it is, online, buying music for my iPod, whatever it is, everything, outgoing, incoming, and make sure you log it all. And there are things that can be sneaky, like I take a Tai Chi class every week. And I don't get a receipt for that $7. It's such a blessing, it's only $7. But I don't get a receipt for that. So I have to remember and make sure that I log that. And that brings me into a level of awareness and appreciation of what comes in, what goes out, and where it's going. And you don't have to write Trader Joe's, I bought olive oil, tampons, and a bar of soap, and a thing of broccoli. You don't have to get that descriptive unless you really want to. It's just simple. It's about keeping it simple and being mindful. Okay, so that's your notebook. Now, your envelope is very, very important because it brings us to the law of circulation. And the law of circulation of what I say means don't wait. Don't wait to move money in your life. Keep it circulating, right? There's that law that says, or that saying that says, where there's a void in the universe, it creates a vacuum, and the nature of the universe wants to fill that vacuum. So don't be afraid of giving. Don't be afraid of tithing. As you're guided, obviously, you're not just going to throw money to everyone everywhere, unless that's your divine guidance. But maybe there's a homeless person. You're guided to give 50 cents, $1, $2, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to let go and to give. Don't be afraid to give a tip at a restaurant, especially where the service is good. Even if you think you're broke, even if you think you don't have enough, you will be guided. You will know what's appropriate to honor that moment, whether it's a little or more than a little. Maybe it's a lot. But trust your heart, your intuition, as you listen to it, will always guide you of what's the most high, most appropriate amount. Okay? So basically, the law of circulation says keep it going. Talking about the $20 from grandma, I remember when I was first learning, getting downloads in my meditations about creating abundance consciousness, my grandma sent me a check for my birthday. This is years ago. I think it was for $35. And I put it on the altar and I gave thanks for it. And then it sat there and it sat there and it sat there and it sat there. And at this time I had a job. And so I had some regular income coming in and I didn't have to worry about where the next paycheck was coming from because I knew I had a regular gig going on. But after 6-7 weeks of that check sitting there, I remember I was cleaning and dusting off my altar and rearranging things, and I thought, God, Tuesday, this is not cool. And I had this full download that was saying, you got to keep this money circulating. This is a blessing from your little 90-year-old grandmother coming out of her little savings account. Cash that check. Keep the law, keep the flow of dough moving. Even if you do have an abundance flow at this time, keep it moving, keep it circulating. Don't let the energy get stagnant, okay? So don't wait to deposit your checks. Don't wait to put cash into your envelope. So we were talking about sacred space, your altar, perhaps it is, or your God box, right? Or just a special envelope that that you've blessed and that is the envelope that you're going to use to practice the law of circulation. So anytime money comes in, I teach, and sometimes I get paid in cash, which is a blessing, and I put that cash into the envelope. And some I will leave a small portion in my wallet, and some of the cash I will put into the one envelope that is in my God box, that is, gets blessed on the altar before it goes into the envelope in the God box. But I put as much cash of that as I can into the envelope, leave a little bit in the wallet, and I bless it, and I put it into that God box, and I let it go, and I don't think about it. And what that does is that creates a blueprint for you to have money in a sacred space, and for you to honor it, and to bless it, and to be mindful, and to circulate it, even if you have to take that money out of that envelope at 5 p.m. to go and pay that bill, or tomorrow morning to go and pay someone back, or to pay the rent. Put it in the envelope. It creates the law of circulation. You're playing the game. You're playing the game of cash flow. You're playing the game of I've got wealth, it's flowing in, it's flowing out. So important for you to pay attention and to put money in and take money out of that envelope. Even if I remember when I first started doing this, there's been periods of my life, I've been an artist my whole life. I'm not a 9-to-5 person. And I by the blessings of the gifts that I have accumulated, my yoga teaching, facilitating Reiki healings, teaching fitness sometimes, and these kinds of things, I am able, and tarot readings, I'm able to manifest for myself. But without a regular job, often I don't even know. It's really just affirming that I am, therefore I receive, and trusting and allowing the divine to provide, which works out. But there's times where we get to bring it down to earth, into our consciousness, and practice that awareness. And so This law of circulation is what it's all about. So don't let the energy go stale. Use your envelope. Each time cash comes in, put it in your envelope. Leave some in your wallet, but put most in your envelope or in your God box, in that sacred place. Not necessarily sitting out in the open on your altar too. It's one thing to put it there, to bless it, to honor it, whatever your process is, but then put it into that next sacred place. Let your cup feel the fullness, whether it's $2. Oh, that's what I was saying when I first started this, and I didn't have, I literally only had 2 pennies to rub together. There's been some highs and some lows in my life where I really didn't know. I really didn't know where the next dollar was coming from, but I had 2 pennies, and I put that in my envelope. And that's what I'm saying, is it doesn't matter how much you think you have or you don't have, but you can begin with 1 penny if that's all you have, with 2 nickels if that's all you have. Just keep the action of circulation in order. So this brings us to number 4, to our next point, which is don't wait to communicate with potential clients. Follow through and exchange business cards, emails, phone numbers, etc. So for artists and people that provide services, whether you're a handy person, a healer, or what have you, an architect, whatever it is, gypsy, and the gifts that you bestow, people will be drawn to you. They'll be looking for your services. And when you meet them, make sure you have something to give them, even if you're not like a business card type of person and you don't have anything printed out. Maybe just write really pretty your number or your email or whatever you feel guided is appropriate as a means to communicate, and make sure, or do it there on the spot, write something out, but make sure that there is a reciprocation of a means for that person to be able to communicate with you. If they show interest and they're like, oh, I've always heard about Reiki, I've always really wanted to get a healing session, but I don't know anything about it. Oh, you have? Oh, let's talk about this. Okay, and then you tell them a little bit about the program or the service or the services that you offer, and they're like, wow, yeah, I'd like to think about that. I'm not really sure. What is your fee? And then you tell them your fee, maybe. And then you say, hey, well, here's my information, stay in touch and let me know if you want. And the best thing is to actually ask them, if they're very, very interested, ask them if you want to exchange business cards, you want to exchange emails, so that way you have their contact information. And as you're guided, nobody wants to be pestered, right? Nobody wants to be pushed into, especially a healing situation. But as you're guided to you get it in your meditation. Oh, let me call Anne. Let me email Bob, about that potential. They want to take my course, or they want to come for a Reiki healing, or whatever it is. And when you get that download, you send them the information of whatever your package or your brochure or whatever it is that you want to send out to them, that you're guided to send out to them. And then you create that set point of conversation. Now that appointment, that booking may not happen for a week, for 2 weeks, for several months, but at least the conversation is there. And that could be a divine blessing and a means for you to bring in cash flow, a divine reciprocation of the cosmic, offerings that you bless this earth with. So it's not that we want to be greedy and hold on to things, but we want to make sure that we don't miss an opportunity. Like for years, I would just be so casual about the healing and the yoga and yeah, man, it's just going to flow. And meanwhile, I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't even eat. And I was like, well, it's just going to happen when it happens. And that's a beautiful attitude. And to a point, it worked with just trusting, Yet there were people that really wanted a private yoga session that I was just so laissez-faire with communicating with them about, that it never even happened, And that could have been money to help pay my rent, or money to help pay my registration for my car or my bus pass, or whatever my circumstances were at the moment. You get the idea. So recently, just today, I have a student who's interested in receiving their level 1. And we've emailed back and forth, and it's just very casual, and there's no pressure. And today I saw her, and she said, oh, thank you so much for your emails. I've been meaning to get back to you, and actually Saturdays don't work. So we're just going to have to see, And usually I would have just been like, okay, great, nice to see you, and I would have let her go. But I've learned now that I create a set point. And so I say, oh, okay, Saturdays don't work. What days actually do work for you best if you're going to get your attunement? And then she said, wow, and she told me what days work for her. And I said, okay, great, I'm going to just shoot you an email with a few dates, and we'll let the divine order it. And she's like, okay, great. Very open to it. I'm not pressuring her, but it's like seizing the moment, creating a new set point for the conversation to allow that abundance, that reciprocation of your services as an artist to be gifted out into the world and to generate cash flow for you, right? And then I'm not going to wait a week to send her the email. I'm not going to wait too long, like the cash, like the check on the altar. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to it, but I'm going to be gentle and graceful, and I'm going to bless it, chokurei it, and let it go for the highest good. For the highest good. Okay. So, now the next point and the final point is a shift from fear consciousness to a shift of abundance consciousness. And it's really funny because I remember a couple years back, my life situation had completely changed. And this was the point where I was like, I had 2 pennies to rub together. Myself and my partner at the time had nothing, and I had never applied for services. We had just applied for food stamps. Like, we had nothing, and we really needed help. And I remember my mother at the time giving me a discount coupon for like DWS shoes. And it's a thing, like, I never shopped there anyway, but she gave me this coupon, like 20% off DWS shoes. And I was like, what are you doing? And I got so offended that she would give me this coupon for money off when I couldn't even freaking feed myself. And I was like, are you joking? Are you like teasing me here? And I took it so personally. And then sometime later, as I meditated and was getting more downloads about this generating abundance consciousness, this cash flow consciousness, I realized, like, whoa, I was coming on so hard and so heavy and took it so personal, her offering. And I spun it in an I spun it in a lack consciousness way. And I thought, wow. And I had to tell her then, and I apologized, and I like rearranged the divine dynamics of that conversation through communicating with her. And I said, instead of me taking it personally and getting agitated that you offered me a coupon for whatever, shoes, I said, instead I choose to bless it. And I bless you for seeing me as abundant enough to buy a fancy pair of shoes at this place and to have a little coupon discount. I didn't have the money to buy shoes. I didn't have the money to buy anything back then. But so I had to spin it around in my head. And instead of getting angry at her for giving me a coupon for some pair of shoes that I couldn't even afford to click my heels and go home with anyway, I spun it around. And I said, you know what? Thank you. From now on, when I receive those invitations to like spend more money than I think I have at that time, even if I know I'm not going to spend the money or something, oh, thank you. That is them seeing you. That is them seeing us as abundant. My mom, in her mind, she's like, yeah, Tuesday can go shopping. She can save a few bucks. She wasn't thinking I didn't have enough money to eat. She was just being a mom. So that's a point that I think is really important, because we can take those things very personally and keep ourselves stuck in the crunch of poverty consciousness, lack consciousness. So another thing, that's really cool about the notebook is I realized last month my car, I bless it. For a few months, though, it was in and out of the shop, and I'm like, how am I even going to pay for this? Oh my God. It's one thing when you kind of get a few clients and you're flowing and you're doing your gypsy thing and you got money maybe coming from this client, or you have a regular class and at least there's a few bucks and you can buy groceries, But when the car is like, $200, $500, $300, $700, and it's just like, how is this going to happen? And the cool thing is that I went through my book for last month, and I realized the car was in the shop. And I looked at all the monies that came in and all the monies that went out, and I thought, oh my God, I was able to pay my rent, have as much gasoline in the car as I needed, buy my groceries, do the regular things that I would do every month. And I was able to have $400 extra to pay for that car. And it blew my mind, because if I wouldn't have logged it, I would have just been like, I don't know where the money went. I don't even know how much I came in last month. I don't know how much went out, which is fine. But this generating cash flow, abundance for artists, this is about us not being so like, I don't even know. Like, if you want to generate more, you got to be present. You got to be in it. You got to be on it. You got to work it. And so that's my gift to you. Now, the bonus, the little bonuses that I want to offer you. Number one, And I forget where I read it or if it came to me in a meditation or I don't know what, but it's to place a picture. Maybe it was my stepmother. Place a picture of a guru or a beloved wise one in your wallet. And I have Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru, and Mother Teresa. I have a 2-in-1. And this is just always in my wallet. Just always, just in there. Now, another thing that I received from my stepmother for sure, she's like, whenever you get a new wallet, always put at least $1 in it and never touch that dollar, right? Just keep it in there to keep, like the envelope, just to keep the presence of financial, of abundance, of cash. And if you've got more, put a 20 and just be like, 20, 100. Put your 100 in there and just don't touch it. Whatever seems to be the circumstances at the time, just to create that blueprint, that energetic blueprint in the matrix, in the grid scheme of who you are in your mental thought continuum of what is possible, of what is now. And lastly, I'm going to put a link right here, and it's going to be for my video of the Lakshmi mantra, which is all about generating abundance, generating not only an abundance of cash flow, but abundance consciousness for your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, your well-being of your physical health. And let that play in the background. Learn the chant and let the chant move through your home. Just let it play over and over again. Get into the chant. The definitions and all the meanings are there in the video so you can check it out, see if it resonates for you. But all these things help. And thank you so much for listening. If you feel like any of these points jive with you, share the abundance consciousness ideas. Share these ideas with your friends, with your family. I would love to hear your comments. Especially after you've tried it for a little bit, or maybe right away if you really dig this. And let me know what you think, because this has definitely allowed me to experience a new level of cash flow that I never had before. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, liking, and I am on Instagram if you want to follow me. My link is in the description box. Namaste for a beautiful day.